Who are you? That's the key with this workshop. Who are you? You want to write original fiction? Who are you? You got to know who you are. You got to know things about yourself. You got to know things that your strengths. What are your strengths? Make a list of them. What are your weaknesses? Make a list of them. Don't show them to anybody. You know, who are you? What do you do? What job do you do? What do you love more than anything else besides your spouse? Who are you? And that, asking those simple questions, and then let books come out of there. Why not? Not saying it's a rule that you need to do that. Heavens no. What do you love to read? What do you absolutely, passionately, just every time you see one, you grab it and buy it, doesn't matter what the price is, and then as soon as you get a break, you're reading it. My question to you is, why aren't you writing those? Why aren't you writing books like that? If you love it that much and are that passionate about it, oh my God, is it going to be original if you write it? Because it'll be from you. Why aren't you doing that? And if you are, congratulations. You're made big steps. But look at your past. I mean, some people taking this workshop, I know, are pretty young and don't have a lot of past, and they always have that cliche, oh, you got to have so many years of experience underneath you before you can be a writer. Bullshit. It's just another one of the dumb rules that are trying to restrict you. Okay? Again, dumb. That's the kind of rule you got to have alarm systems going off. You got to have the bullshit meter going. Because it's just garbage. It's just stupid. I'm sorry, it's just dumb. Of course not. I've seen some incredible novels written by 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds. You know, what's important is what your imagination is and how good your skill is at telling a story. How good can you just go, and tell a story and make a reader follow you? Do you have all of the key elements that will get a reader down into the depth of your story? Pull a reader into a character. Do you know how to do different kinds of characters? You know, the key a lot with originality is not having all your characters sound the same. Let me think. Oh yeah, duh. I mean, that's back in the weeds of the first couple weeks there. But, you know, if all your characters are sounding the same, there's nothing original about them. But if you can create original characters and you can make an original character who is your viewpoint character come alive in a reader's mind, then you are way out there. So, who are you? Why not write your stories? And I'm not talking about some dumb, family history or anything stupid like that. No, I'm talking about writing your stories. I mean, my most popular series, and the one that I love writing more than anything else, is Poker Boy, for heaven's sakes. I'm Poker Boy. I'm Poker Boy. Totally and completely. It's just a big wish fulfillment for me. I mean, I go into casinos. We were just down in Vegas, not too long ago, down meeting a bunch of other writers. And, I ended up playing a bunch of poker in some tournaments and paying for the entire trip. But we were down there, meeting other writers for kind of a New York Times bestseller summit. A whole bunch of New York Times writers got together, just ourselves, just to figure out where this world's going. And, it was one of those things where I walked into the casino and I just went, I could just feel the energy pouring. Well, that's what I have Poker Boy do. For some reason, casinos give me energy. Who knows? Most people find them depressing, oppressing, whatever, ing term you want. But I'll tell you that, to me, they're invigorating, which is very weird. And I make a lot of money in casinos. I paid my way through both masters in architecture and 3 years of law school out of casinos. It was, and not playing dumb things like slot machines either. No, I'm not a gambler. I'm a card player. One of the aspects of writing original work is go to who you are. Go to who you are. Personally, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. My family were pioneers. My grandparents and great-grandparents were all pioneers on almost all sides of my family into the Pacific Northwest. A couple days ago, I just put a picture of Doc Smith with his daughter up on my daily thing. And Chris, when she was looking at it, she started to scan down through the picture, and she was going, "Why did Dean put his grandfather's picture here there?" Until she saw it was Doc Smith. Look, identical replica to my grandfather. Doc Smith. Turn of the century, turn of the 19th century, here in Idaho. There in Idaho. Again, he was a logger. My grandfather was a miner. I don't know if they were separated at birth or not, but it was certainly startling. And so one of the things about that is I know Idaho, I know West, I know pioneers, I have a love of it. So I write to it. I write in it. I've always written in it. I always intuitively go back to it. And those are my best stories and my best books. Far and away, far and away. When I was young, meaning in high school, back in the 60s, I would go home on Friday nights in Boise, Idaho, and watch Star Trek, because there were no such things as VCRs and everything else. So I literally would skip basketball games, football games, dates, everything else, because I had to be home to watch Star Trek. And I had dates. I wasn't that much of a nerd, but I loved that show. I loved it. I loved it with a passion. I loved the Twilight Zone, for heaven's sakes, with a passion. I mean, I found myself many, many nights, because I was dating a friend who had her best friend was the governor's daughter, and many nights I found myself sitting in the governor's mansion watching the Twilight Zone with my girlfriend and her boyfriend and the governor, Cecil Andrus, and his wife, and we'd all be down in the big family room in the governor's mansion in Idaho watching the Twilight Zone. Now, I'm sorry, but I'm a hardcore fan of the Twilight Zone and all of the offshoots of that thing, Rod Serling's, and I watched it from day one. I got lucky, I guess. My parents let me, because it was a little ahead of my high school days. Well, I love those shows. I just flat loved them. So when I grew up, here I am. I've been in almost every Twilight Zone anthology that Carol Serling has done. I sold to the Twilight Zone magazine when it was active and alive in some of my early stories. And I wrote almost 30, counting the Strange New Worlds, 30-some books. Star Trek. I got lucky. I went to my passion. I went to what I love. I went to what I loved back when I was a kid. So you might not get lucky to write your favorite television show when you were a kid. I mean, I don't know how I got that lucky. On both of them, my two favorite shows, I ended up working in both of them. My question is this, and it is very, very important to this originality. Who are you? Right out of that, and your stories will be original, because you're original.